you don't talk about at parties. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Keep this frequency clear.
And now it's conspiracy. See, they've made that something that should not be even entertained for a minute, that powerful people might get together and have a plan. Doesn't happen. You're a kook. You're a conspiracy buff.
You're watching The Truth is Viral, the only news program on the internet trusted to deliver the truth since 2008. And now, here's your host, Mr.
Welcome to part 2 of this exclusive interview with Tim Brown, the editor-in-chief of freedomoutpost.com. And we're talking about his investigation into the background of Adam Kokesh, the type of people that he hangs around with, his buddies and his pals. If you missed part 1, click this link right here and it will take you to it, and then you can follow the links right back to here and you'll be good to go. So let's go right back to this interview with Tim Brown from freedomoutpost.com, talking about Adam Kokesh and his links to nefarious people.
And that the group has the support of Muslims, including the Society of Boston, the mosque where the alleged Boston bombers came from. So, and that's linked there also in the article. There is ties that he has with the IBAW has with the Muslim American Society. And I've got the post there that, according to Steve Emerson, the director of Investigative Project on Terrorism, the Muslim American Society is a de facto arm of the Muslim Brotherhood in the U.S., whose agenda is to impose Islamic law in America and to undermine our counterterrorism policies. Most people don't know about the Islamic Society of North America. Again, my friend Jim has been, heavily in on that. I've written on that a couple of times on the blog. They're a group that virtually every mosque in America contributes money to undermine our Second Amendment. It is jihad in the political realm. So this lie that there are peaceful Muslims that you can align yourself with is just false. If you are a Muslim who believes Islam, you will engage in jihad. That may be setting out pressure cooker bombs. That may be engaging in political action, like we have with Representative Keith Ellison or Andre. The name escapes me right now. The guy calling for our schools to be like the Islamic schools and use the Quran in them. You will have men like the head of the TSA. I firmly believe that Barack Obama is a Muslim. I don't have any problem believing that. And that there are several people, advisors to him, that are Muslim as well. So if they don't believe in that, they shouldn't be calling themselves Muslims. But there's more than that. I mean, he is tied to that, but he's not only tied to that. He is engaged in protests with groups like Code Pink, who have called and said, hey, we support the murder of our U.S. troops. I mean, can you believe that?
I can believe it. I know Cindy Sheehan is a special kind of scumbag.
Yes, and when you go to, again, my friend's website, Freedom Fighter Radio, you'll see the pictures there where he's with them. He supports them. And what is the odd thing is even like in a comment section I got today, one guy wrote, well, you're upset about the desecration of a memorial when the CIA was running drugs with the dead bodies and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, okay, because the government does something wrong, that justifies you in destroying private property, or I should say public property, and desecrating the memory of the soldiers who did give their lives. I don't follow the logic there.
Nor do I.
And I've given a slew of places that are tied with the IBAW who he is with and who he knows supports them. And he doesn't speak out again. Matter of fact, he is one who goes along with the same ideology to say, hey, nothing wrong with Muslims. I'll embrace them too. And they are a group, look, as a believer in Christ, I believe they need to hear the gospel. I believe they need to repent and turn to Christ. I believe they need to obey God. And at the same time, I realize my Bible says because they reject Jesus Christ in the flesh, they are antichrists. And I should not invite them in my home, but it doesn't stop me from wanting to present them the truth there. At the same time, I love my fellow man enough to where I'll stand up to that I put out a petition on the White House website, which a lot of people gave a lot of Facebook likes, thousands, tens of thousands of Facebook likes across the internet, that went viral. But we can't even get 4,000 people to sign a document calling on the United States to stop Islamic immigration. It's obviously a problem. Beyond that, there is a letter that I also linked to from retired United States Navy SEAL Captain Larry Bailey. He is also a Vietnam veteran. And boy, I wish people would go read that. This guy calls Adam Kokesh out like John Kerry. And I had one guy say, "Oh, you found one Navy somebody that wanted to call him out." I'm like, the guy's a Navy SEAL captain. He's a guy who'll call out people who are frauds, who claim to be something they're not. And Adam Kokesh had ran for the U.S. House of Representatives in New Mexico a couple of years back, and was trying to portray himself as a libertarian conservative, but according to Captain Bailey, he's neither libertarian nor conservative. And I follow a lot of friends on Facebook. Adam's one of them. And read some of the things they say. Many of the things I agree. They're logical, they're sound. And then other things are just so out of whack. You just wonder, what were you thinking? How do you put that together? But he calls him out. He even talks about some of the other things that he's tied to. I mean, George Soros funding, some of the alliances that he is tied with, and he basically tells him, look, take off your suit and tie, let your hair grow long in a John Kerry look-alike manner, be what you want to be as long as it's not pretending to be an American patriot. And I'm sorry, my son is making a little noise.
That's okay, brother. I love hearing little babies. I really do.
But yeah, I really think that the problem is, and that's just touching. Excuse me, just a second. That's just touching the tip of the iceberg. The real issue comes. The real issue comes when we find that the kind of call he's calling for, like you said, and like we discussed before the show, the issue is that Lexington and Concord, the colonists were warned that the government was coming to take their weapons and things, and so they took a defensive posture, and they didn't use violence until they were met with violence. And I know many Christians, there's, I guess, that struggle that's been going on since the beginning. And that is, well, do we engage violence or we turn the cheek and this, that, and the other? Well, I think you have to understand those things in context. And I think my brother Gordon Runyon out in New Mexico has written an excellent book on Romans 13 and some subsequent books as well that you can get from Amazon called Resistance to Tyrants. And, he outlines how we're to understand those things under godly government. Obviously, I'll tell you, I know you made some mention before, I'm not like a dispensationalist, or I take a sort of a preterist view to Revelation, but, if you take that view and you read that you're not to obey the government, as some people reference, they want to reference the Antichrist in Revelation 13, and obey what he says, well, then you obviously have a problem if you say we're just to submit to all rulers, whether they're good or wicked. We're to resist those who are wicked. We are to call them to repentance. John the Baptist did it. Jesus did it. The prophets did it. There's a long history in the Bible of doing those things. But where they are calling us to obey where we're not sinning, then we should submit to them. And this march, while we do have the right to protest, we do not have the right to go and break the law.
That's true.
So when this guy goes, he's going knowingly to break the law. And I've read several articles. One was by the health ranger over at Natural News, who quoted Heller versus D.C. And he says, well, if Adam is arrested, well, then it's the authorities who are the criminal. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. you go back and read the summary. The summary is about the area of D.C. first. It was a gentleman in D.C. wanting to bear his arms in his home, and they were issuing that law there for him. Now you can apply it across the board, but just like you have a concealed carry laws in different states, and each state is different. You have to obey those laws, even as one who carries legally in your own state. For instance, when I travel from South Carolina through Georgia, I would have to take my gun off and I would have to put it in the back of my car along with the ammunition. And that's just obeying the law.
I do the same thing here in Michigan. I've got I open carry. I haven't got my concealed pistol license yet. So every time I get in the truck, I've got to put my pistol into a locked box, put it back where I can't get, where it's not within reach of the driver. So, I've got to do the same thing. It's a pain in the butt, but that's the way to do it, Well,
it is, and as I told you before, I firmly believe the Second Amendment has no restrictions on it. As I told you, I think the founders had in mind, and I think it was demonstrated when Thomas Jefferson sent the warships in the Barbary Wars to make war through letters of marque and reprisal. Those were privately owned warships. So the government then didn't have a problem with people owning warships. I don't think they would have had a problem with us owning tanks. I don't think they would have had a problem with us owning jets or rocket launchers or any of that stuff, because the issue is if you're a law-abiding citizen, you're not going to be using those things for illegal activity. and no law is going to stop a lawbreaker. That's the point. It's merely there to show what breaks the law and then to provide punishment for it. Thank you, darling. So that is those are some things to keep in mind. But in my previous article, that's what I was laying out, is that Lexington and Concord, there is a defensive posture to meet resistance. Other than taxes, our founders endured a lot more than what we're enduring right now. We are enduring a lot of bad things. You see stories all over the internet of things that happen. We saw, in Boston. And this was something that bothered me when I heard, the leader of Oath Keepers say, well, we're going to fight if they try to impose martial law. Well, I didn't see anybody fighting up there in Boston. People just let the police come in armed, run them out of their houses, violate the Fourth Amendment all over the place because they were scared of one little 19-year-old boy. And who found him? It wasn't the police, it was a citizen.
Right.
And, and then you have the whole issue that comes about, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to get off on topic, but right. I do think these things tie together. Then you have the whole issue of
that's my job.
My own senator, Lindsey Graham, wanting to call and say, no, this guy should be treated as enemy combatant and not read this, that, and the other, as though not reading somebody a Miranda rights doesn't give them rights. It just limits you when you want to prosecute them.
Right.
But, violating the Constitution all over the place, it happens on both sides of the aisle. And that's why the press is so important. We have to call out people on our side just as much as the other side. And the problem is too many only want to call out one side or the other. And so we have to do that. But another instance is the issue that happened in Athens, Tennessee. Another guy who was a part of IBAW commented in the section on the article. He asked, what was the difference of Lexington and Concord, which I gave, but also what about the deal that happened in Athens, Tennessee, where the guys went in armed and they got the voting ballot box from the authorities there because they were stuffing the box. They were fudging on the votes. And they didn't go up with the intent of, hey, if these authorities tell us no and hand over your weapons and we're going to take you to jail like they were going to do it. They were ready to use force to make sure that justice was done in the voting booth. And they prevailed. Now, compare that with what Adam Kokesh has set up. Adam Kokesh has stated he was upset in college, okay, that the college would not allow him to carry his weapon. This is after he came back from Iraq.
Right.
And look, I'm with him. I think the colleges ought to let him carry his weapon. Okay? And just because the man has PTSD, I don't believe his weapons ought to be taken from him any more than I do any other veterans. I think that's a stupid law, and the federal government has really no constitutional authority to impose such any restriction at all on the Second Amendment. But here's a guy who did that. And for him, he's saying, I'm going to march armed, and I want you to come with me. Okay? Now, in giving these statements, he was on the Alex Jones show. And there are segments of there. I put the whole video up so people can watch the whole thing in context for themselves, but I did pull out some of the statements that he said. And while he claims that it's a peaceful march, he interchanges things. He says it's an armed revolt against the American government. Make no mistake about it. We are going with the aim of overthrowing the government.
Now, isn't that phrase, just the fact that he said that this is an armed revolt against the United States government, wouldn't that be classified as a terroristic threat?
You might classify it as treasonous. Now, I want to be careful here because at the same time, I recognize our founders were called traitors.
Right.
But it wasn't because they were taking up arms against England. It was just simply saying, you know what, guys, we want to secede from you. That's in essence what they were saying. We want to govern ourselves. And I really think that is the next peaceful approach that we have. I really believe secession ought to be an option. I don't believe in having another constitutional convention. I think we're setting ourselves up for liberals to come in because we won't determine who's going to be there.
Right.
And but this is the thing, and you can see the video on the one that I did on Thursday. I provided there, but you ought to watch the video because Alex Jones is a pretty provocative guy. He says a lot of outrageous things. Some of the stuff he carries is really good, and then other things are just not good. But even he was sort of shocked at Kokesh wanting to do this armed march. Now he's come out and he's fully behind him and all this, but you could tell he's a little bit concerned about that too. And the question I have is, and I'm not saying I don't get into things of saying, well, this person's a government plan or that person. I don't know. I don't have enough information to know stuff like that. But I can say this: if I were to call for something like that, it wouldn't be long till I have the men in black showing up at my doorstep. I know that.
Oh, yeah.
This guy hasn't had that. He hasn't had that.
They'd be rappelling out of helicopters, AWACS, MRAPs out in the yard.
Yeah, I imagine they'll probably send a couple of guys to question me and find out just what the heck are you doing? What are you doing? As far as I know, that has not happened with him. But here again, I'll tell people, I don't have a bone to pick with Alex Kokesh. I don't have a bone to pick with him. I don't.
Right.
There are a lot of things I agree with him on. I agree with him really on smaller government. My idea of smaller government is actually biblically instituted government. It's, I would love to see the law of God implemented. And some people go, oh, you want what the Taliban does. No. If you compare what they did, what they actually had to deal with in the Old Testament, man, you're talking about fair, just punishments. You're talking about you would totally reduce the prison system here in America. It just wouldn't exist.
Well, Tim, we're actually kind of running out of time, but my friend, I don't think that you're going to have long to wait to see that biblical government here on earth. I think it's just right around the corner. So thank you, Tim Brown, the publisher and editor-in-chief of the Freedom Outpost at freedomoutpost.com. Thank you for being on The Truth is Viral. I really do appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, thank you, Bob.
That was Tim Brown, publisher and editor-in-chief of freedomoutpost.com. And let's wrap this all up by just taking a look at this guy real quick. Okay, yeah, he supported Ron Paul, and in the early years, he was against the Iraq War. Hell, I was against the Iraq War. You know, if you go down into the description below, you'll read the very first article that I ever wrote after I woke up, calling for George Bush's impeachment and trial and imprisonment on war crimes. So don't paint me into this right-winger corner, because I'm anything but. My slogan for a long time has been that I don't care if you're a Muslim, a Christian, a Jew, left wing, right wing, whatever. If you're a scumbag, I'm coming to get you. And there's plenty of scumbags everywhere. So I won't be out of a job anytime soon. But yeah, Adam Kokesh has admitted to having mental problems. He can't handle crowds. And he thinks that he's going to be able to command 10,000 armed men. I'm sorry, but I would not follow that man across the street, much less in a march, an armed march on the nation's capital. Talk about crossing the Rubicon. Okay, if you're going to do something like that, you'd better be prepared to go all the way, because I got news for you. It's destined for failure. And I think that maybe that's what it's for. It's a setup. Because Obama and his gun-hating goons could not get the legislation that they wanted through Congress. So the only way that, and the scandals that Obama's going through right now, okay, 4 of them. The birther scandal, which admittedly is maybe a non-starter, but maybe not, because Mike Zullo has uncovered a lot of evidence. He just filed a brief with the Alabama Supreme Court in front of Judge Roy Moore. So, you know, that something could come of that. But we've definitely got Benghazi, got the IRS and the AP scandal, and now the Justice Department has targeted James Rosen, the Washington bureau chief of Fox News, calling him a co-conspirator in espionage for simply doing what reporters do. Okay, it's no secret that I trade emails back and forth with the Iranian mission to the United Nations. Does that mean that I'm a possible target too? You know, I saw this coming when Janet Napolitano said that they were going to start watching bloggers and journalists and people that keep their audiences situationally aware and informed in real time. They're coming for us. And if they get us, I expect 1,000 of you to rise in each one of our places. But getting back to this march on Washington, D.C., it's a bad idea all around. Okay, we are nowhere close to that point. If we want to be like the founders, like the men that founded this country, we've got to wait until they come for us. And then, by all means, unleash hell. We have to be in the right on this. Okay, we're allowed to defend ourselves according to the Bible and, you know, natural law, but we're not allowed to be aggressors. And if these so-called intellectuals that are running our country, these failed children of the 60s, had actually cracked a book instead of participating in armed takeovers of ROTC offices like Eric Holder, or doing God knows what, like Barack Obama. Nobody seems to know anything about what he did with his time in college. But yeah, those are the kind of people that we're up against. They don't play by normal rules. Our republic fell, and nobody noticed. But for the moment, you know, we still have the tools available to get rid of these people. Case in point, exactly what's going on in Congress right now. The scandals over Benghazi and the AP and the IRS. Any one of these is an impeachable offense. So let's not forget about Fast and Furious. This administration is so corrupt, it just boggles my mind. And to me, the only way that Barack Obama can possibly hold on to power, and these communists have been, ever since the 60s, they've been weaseling their way into government. The dope-smoking hippies of the 60s are now running this country. And they love their Mao. They love their little red books, where all politics, the power from politics, comes from the barrel of a gun. But you know, any one of these scandals can bring him down. It ain't going to be easy. And if he's the Antichrist, it's not going to be possible at all. Or unless that's the mechanism by which he becomes, you know, the Antichrist. Because, you know, something has got to happen. There's no way that this man can possibly hope to hold on to power without declaring martial law. And that's probably what this march is all about, to give him an excuse to declare martial law. He'll say, this is why we need to take guns. Because 10,000 people just tried to kill my ass. Adam Kokesh says right here, this is an armed revolt against the American government. Make no mistake about it. We are going with the aim of overthrowing the government. That's treason. Now, Adam was recently arrested at a pro-pot rally in Philadelphia. He was charged with assaulting a federal officer. Now, if you'll watch this video, you can see that there was no assault took place.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, light them up! Go ahead and say it. Fuck the law, smoke it anyway.
Fuck the law, smoke it anyway. Hey, bring it in. Everybody get closer, show some love. Come on, we're going to make it difficult for the police here. Hey, I'm being assaulted by an officer of the law who is a clear criminal. This is a criminal act being committed by a man in a costume.
That's not the word violence! No, stop it! That's not violence! You don't want that kind of violence! Stop the violence!
This is a trumped up charge, but it is a felony charge. And they're saying that they're going to hold him without bail until he's seen by a judge on Monday at 1:30. So, you know, like I said, there's video of this arrest. I don't see how they can possibly interpret that as assaulting him. A resisting arrest, maybe. But assaulting a federal officer, I don't see it. But if he does get out and he tries to lead this march, everybody that listens to my voice, please stay as far away from it as you can. Have nothing to do with it. That's my advice. And it's the advice of just about everybody else that has put any kind of thought into it. So, you know, I know that you're frustrated and I know that you want to do something, but our legal options have not yet run their course. Okay, and we need to make sure that we are in the right at all times. That way, neither history nor God can judge us harshly. Okay, if you want to stick around for just a minute, I'll tell you about Delin and what's going on there. I'm at the park across the street from the hospital. Came over here earlier today and I filmed these scenes of that swan swimming around in the river. And I thought it was so cool. And you know, it was real foggy, and you know, I just thought it might make some interesting video. I had to call it quits though about 1:30 because I needed to take Adam to see a counselor. This thing is extremely hard on all of us. My wife is fighting an epic battle, but the chemotherapy has just got her so weak. I'm really worried that she can stay the course. So, yeah, it's been hard on everybody, but my youngest Adam especially. Even though my dad died of lung cancer when I was 14, and I've lived through the exact same thing that he's living through right now, he doesn't want to hear anything from me. So I made an appointment with him to see a counselor, help him deal with what he's got to deal with. Then I went to pick him up from the hospital today. I went to the high school. And guess who skipped today? Guess who's grounded now? Yeah, the devil has really taken a notice of me. He took my daughter. That just made me that more determined to go out and save other people's daughters. My left arm is practically useless. But the right one is getting stronger every day serving the Lord. He's trying to burden me beyond belief with my wife's illness. My son having problems dealing with that illness. And a host of other things. Figured if he can't beat me down, he'll weigh me down with responsibility so that I can't do this show anymore. Well, I've got news for old Scratch. Till he kills me, I'll take whatever he has to throw at me. I'll smile and I'll keep coming. I will continue this fight as long as I am physically able. To do that, I'm going to need your help, your support, and your prayers. That I will be granted the strength that I'm going to need to deal with all of this stuff. And believe me, I'm going to need a lot of that. Make sure that you share the show wherever you can. I want to build it up to the point where I can actually make money with it. That's not a crime, is it? You know, since I started doing this and I got $200 a month, you know what happened? They took away $600 a month in disability benefits. Oh yeah. So we need your help there too. I need $400 a month just to break even to where I was while I was still sitting on a couch doing nothing. And I need your help to share the show. You know, get it out there, get it seen. And if you have the ability, if you're financially able, if you're disabled or especially disabled veterans, I don't want your money. I know how hard it is to raise your family when you don't even know if you're going to be able to pay the light bill the next month. But if you have the ability, please go to bobpowell.blogspot.com, and in the upper right hand corner you'll find a PayPal button where you can leave a donation. And I will continue this fight. The sheriff's conference doesn't look like it's going to happen for me. I still need over $1,000 to get down there, and you guys are generous, but not that generous. I got to be honest. And I don't want to leave DeLynn now either. Hey, I got through all that without busting into tears. How about that? I'm getting good at this. Well, until the next time we meet, as always, my name is Bob Powell. God bless. Semper Fi. Hoorah.
Thank you for watching The Truth is Viral with your host, Bobby Powell. Make sure to follow The Apocalypse on Twitter at The Truth is Viral. Like The Truth is Viral on Facebook, and if you can, please remember to donate to the cause via PayPal at www.bobpowell.blogspot.com.
Smack, runner,